Hello. You guys are doing okay. I'm still trying to get John on, and for some reason, he's having some issues. Oh, hello.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
Oh my god. Hey, it works. Okay, cool. Stupid Ecam. I don't know. I'm not gonna say stupid because it's an amazing program. I had it all like set up today, this afternoon, and then couldn't get the microphone, or not the microphone, the camera working. So that I had you all ready, and then I thought that your camera was gonna work, and then it didn't. And then it's like, okay. So here we are, 21 minutes late for the first stream ever.
Yeah, and probably mostly my fault because I was like, what's going on with this? All that happened was this box open. Oh, for future reference, if you open it on an iPod, an iPad, an iPad, there's a little thing at the bottom with like an arrow that points up, and you click on that and it says open in browser. I was like, oh, what's that do? Poof. And then it kind of like tells you how to open up in Safari. So yeah. I know how to do it. Before I didn't, I was obviously an idiot.
Oh, this is great. Great start. I was just showing Jade what I was talking what I was using while I was talking with you. See, there's no screen on this, but it's like an amazing computer. So I'll just chuck that over there. So how's it going?
Good. To be honest, it's well, before we start, I think your channel is awesome. I think you're really doing it's so cool. No, not saying I'm on it, but I think you're doing a great job, and I think more people should be on it and talk about stuff because I think you're doing a really, really good job. And yeah, I hopefully more people come on and talk about different stuff, but I think you're doing a great job, and it looks really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I look, we talk about this a couple times, and I know like we message each other quite a bit, and I say this isn't really like for me. This is like a way to kind of bridge the two generations together, and I see like two generations because I do see like, 20 years ago when we were working together, there was a lot of people there that had a different style, and then nowadays we come in and like you and I, it's like, wow, this is a different game, and it's different in a good way, it's different in a bad way, but there's bound to be some change when the casino industry evolves, right? So I know that there's a lot of material out there right now, but for me, I wanted to make sure that our stuff is out there, and the people that I work with right now, they never got a chance to work with you. And if they saw you deal, especially on stick, well, not on stick and base, you're amazing. You had an A rating on the ships. If they at least had the opportunity to watch you, they would have got a lot more out of it, out of the casino industry, out of dealing the games, out of having like an appreciation for games, especially craps, right? So, yeah.
I remember when I first came to the Palace Casino, I just remember this the other day actually because it just popped in my head. I remember one time we were the only table in the casino that could order alcohol. Can you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So me and like Darren Evans, we could just sign for alcohol and be like whatever, and then the other pit managers or pit bosses would call down and say, "John, put this on your tab." We're like, "Oh no worries," and we put it down. And I remember one night I started getting mad at the casino. I'm like, man, I'm just going to buy the table drinks. So I'll be like, everyone has a drink. Get them all a drink. And I would just buy the whole table drinks. And it completely backfired because everyone was then so drunk and we kept making more and more money. And I was like, what is going on? I'm trying to get mad at the casino because they pissed me off for whatever reason. And it's just completely backfiring. The people are having so much fun. I'm like, okay, if you win this one, we buy it on the table. I was okay. It was just great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the worst plan ever.
Do you miss the Palace Casino? I always say that. I always ask everybody because some people are like, no, I don't miss the Palace at all. And there's better places that I work, but do you like? There was a lot of good times there at the Palace for sure. So
to be honest, I never really miss casinos because it's just a building and it's just management or whatever. I miss the people I work with. That's what I generally miss and look back and go, because I never look back and go, oh my God, that was like an awesome casino. I look back and remember like, oh man, I had so much fun with these people, and this guy was crazy, and this guy was fun. Oh, this guy was a dick, you know, and remember I did this to him. Probably shouldn't have. Surprised he didn't fire me, but you know what I mean? So I generally list the people that I work with. Oh, by the way, Rhonda says hello.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time no see. It's been a jillion years.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, and the strangest thing now, you've probably been dealing dice, and I think you have, probably longer than I have now.
Well, no, that's definitely not true. Because I ended up moving to all these different positions. So like human resources. Did you ever think that I would be a human resources coordinator?
No.
Food and beverage. I was a food and beverage manager for a year and a half, on and off. So
really,
yeah,
that's a tangent, eh?
Yeah, this was after. So I went on the ships and then I came back, and you weren't there. That's basically what happened. And then all this stuff happened, and then I ended up being the food and beverage manager just because I was the only one that knew how to work with the micro system that they have for the POS system that they had for food and beverage. Of all the people, I ended up being the supervisor, and then I became the manager because they went through 3 managers and it didn't work out. And that was the only time I had like so many friends that would come up to me and be like, "Oh, hey, Jay, are you eating? Are you having a bite to eat tonight?" Because like my food was always free, so I could write off all the food for everybody. So everybody would come up to me like, "Hey, what's going on? You having dinner tonight?"
Well, because you weren't there at the time. I think you left and you were doing other things. Now you're just talking about the palace. I spent. Can you remember? It used to be at the craps table. Used to be at the bottom of the stairs. You know, you come down those stairs, and we were like right at the end of that one pit, and it was there.
Yeah.
And once they opened like the other side, I was like, oh, I want to be in front of the bar and buy the band because I'm like, it's a way better location. There's the traffic and stuff like that. So I tried for years to try and get him to move it. I was like, we need to be over there. You get the foot traffic. You got the poker players. We should be right there in front. You know, you get people on the stick. You get loud. Da, da, da. And no, honestly, I just wanted to be in a more exciting place than just underneath the stairs. It's like, this is ridiculous. So after like, it must have been 2 years of kind of begging and pleading. They're like, okay, we'll move the crap table, we'll put it over there. And by the time they moved it over there, I was working just day shifts. I think Darren Evans had left and I was only working day shifts. And, you know, so I go there and they moved it. And every day, like the bar was closed, it was dead. And every day, all they showed was the Golf Channel. And I so bad at it. I was like, can we change the channel? And like, no. This old guy comes in first thing in the morning and he requests the Golf Channel and he plays slots on it. So it was like 7 hours of facing the Golf Channel. I was like, oh my God, I should have stayed under the stairs. He was driving. And in the end, I was like, where's the old boy? I just want to see who it is. Maybe we should just tell him, excuse me, go over there and say, you changed your mind. You don't want to watch the Golf Channel 24 hours a day, day in, day out.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Yeah, I do remember that part. I wasn't there exactly when they were doing the renovations, but oh man. I remember the big screen and everything. Oh. That was eventful. I'll say that. That was the one bar that was like so busy on like the Friday and Saturday. There was like fights for who had to bartend there because they were making some really good money on the weekends. So
well, that's where you want a loud, crazy game, right? You want someone who's drunk, who staggers over. How would you play this? Oh, I'll show you. Just come over here. Yeah, come on. So it should be right by the bar. It shouldn't be like over by a slot machine where people park pensioners. You know what I mean? It's like it should be like in place, right? Or it should be like where people are drunk and or gamblers could go and play it, right? Not hidden in the corner.
Yep, exactly. So, hey, we got some viewers. That's good. Oh, Mike is on. He's trying to get on, but he can't seem to get his microphone connected. So, There's
So,
another new.
so will you be able to see who's actually watching this?
I can't see. It just says how many are watching.
Okay.
I just posted. I said 8 o'clock. Some people are mad at me because I said 8, and it's like 8:20. They're already gone. But this is a good test run. I'm using StreamYard, which is not as fun. It's still, at least it's reliable because we're on here, which is good. But I really wanted to do to do Ecamm because we could go through our videos and everything. I wanted to go through the polls, but let's try that. Let's try that next episode. I don't know if you want to do this weekly. You want to do this weekly, or if you want to do it bi-weekly?
To be honest, I mean, I think this is fun. I really do. And right now, Wednesday nights for me, I'm kind of, I don't have any schedules things with my kids because I take them boxing and stuff like that and soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fun, to be honest. And I find it a fun way to, to connect with you and from other people I used to work with before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how interesting people who want to see me every week.
Well, the thing is, you have a lot of we have a lot of stories, and I think we have a lot of things that we can discuss with regards to craps, and just stories like casino stories, because there isn't a lot of people that I've met that have done as much as you have, right? So it'd be cool to kind of hear your stories, because like all of us are kind of, and again, like we talked about this before, but a lot of us are together, and a lot of us kind of grew up together here in our city, right? And then you came in and it's like, yeah, I worked here. So a lot of us want to hear those stories, right? So
John, the first thing I did when I came to Paris, I did two things, to be honest. I kind of annoyed somebody the second day I was in working in the Palace Casino by accident. I was like, I don't know who this person is. And she said something to me and I was just like, oh, I'll say this. And apparently I annoyed her and it pretty much killed my career prospects in the casino. After day two, I was like, oh, okay, this is how it is. But one of the things that I did and I tried to do is tell people that, and you were all young and you were all like super good and you were like enthusiastic and you were great with players and you were so good, to give them, like, you guys, the opportunity to at least try some of the things that I did, like do the traveling, go on ships, see different people, see different parts of the world, learn a little bit more. I mean, some people that's still out there. I mean, some still, 20 years later. I mean, it's, I know there wasn't, there's always been Canadians going on ships, but I wanted, like, when I came in and I'm like, this is your opportunity now. I mean, you guys are already great on other things. And I wrote so many like letters, like reference letters, like, here I was, blah, blah, blah. This guy, this guy's great. I would say he was probably a B dealer on ships. He can do this and do that, blah, blah, blah. You should hire him. I mean, I did so many things. And because I think the greatest opportunity you have as a casino dealer, especially when you learn craps, is to try and travel. Because you can go out, you can see so many cool things and go to so many cool places. And then you could be an old fart like me and look back and go, oh my God, did I really do that shit? You know what I mean? And those experiences you can't get anymore, right? I mean, so take advantage of when you're young and you have the opportunity. So that's what I wanted to try and do when I came in. I mean, when I joined the Palace, I was, what, it was 2000? Yeah. So I was 32, right? So, I mean, I was kind of like in the tail end of my career, really, in casinos. But I was like, man, you should go and do this stuff. At least try it. I mean, one of the things that I always said about ships is not for everybody. I mean, you go out there and you're like, well, you're sharing a room with complete strangers. You've no idea if, like, you could be crazy, or you could just be like, whatever, this is just weird, or you miss home and you're like, yeah, I can't do this, and you try it once and and then you go home, which is fine. I mean, it's great. Like, try something. If you try and you go, well, I tried it, it was kind of fun, not really for me, and I came back home and I want to do something. I prefer being home around my family, friends, whatever. But at least try it, right? So that's what I tried to instill in people, like when I first came to the Palace, because I'm not sure that there was many people at the time in the Palace that actually traveled on ships. I don't really remember, to be honest. I know Sean Bennett he'd come back. He was, he'd work. I'd work with him on ships. I met him actually, I met him on my first ship. And
oh yeah.
And then I met him again when he went to work in the Palace.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I worked with Sean Bennett on the first ship for Royal Caribbean. Not my first ship ever, because he probably wasn't born. Or if he was probably just, like trying to pee on his own without, a diaper.
I'll tell you, that guy was technically sound. One of the most technical dealers. Well, trainer, like he was really good at training. I'll say that, because for there's a lot of trainers that I had as just do it this way because that's the way. But for him, I always got the why. And a lot of people maybe didn't agree with that, but I always liked that because it's just like, okay, now I understand what your mindset is and what you're looking for. So it's, for me, I like adapting to whoever my box person is, just because I really need to get through the shift, and I want it to be smooth, and I don't want to get into like a yelling argument or anything. There's no sense in that, because it's like, you know what, we got to work together tomorrow too, right? So
I actually, when I first met him, excuse me, we actually worked on the Legends of the Seas, and it was going from when I first joined it was going from like Vancouver to Alaska, and then so I worked with him there, and I liked him. I thought he was a pretty cool guy, and and he was very smart. My wife knew him a lot longer than I did. She knew him from Edmonton. Like he does know he did. I don't know if he still even works in casinos anymore. So he was very smart. He knows a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I would say at the end, when I worked in Palace Casino, maybe we weren't kind of like the best of friends, but I mean, sometimes it is what it is, right? We had conflicting views, right?
Yeah, well, differing views, yeah. Differing views. So you could say that.
And by that stage of the game, I was like, I'm kind of getting too old to kind of argue with people about things I think, like, really? So, and I realized, to be honest, my future, like I wanted to get out of casinos by that point. And I was like, you know what? I don't care whatever, I'm going to tell you how I feel. And then sometimes him and I had differences of opinions on a few things, but it is what it is.
Yeah. How, sorry, Mike had a comment which I can't show because he did it on Messenger. So
I'm trying to be diplomatic as well.
I know, it's just like, this is a live stream. I'm probably gonna replay this for Thursday.
And thing is as well, like I thought about this, I was like, okay, like I have a ton of stories and things I've done, and I'm like, okay, can I say that on a live stream and be, all of a sudden, can I say these things and it's going to be broadcast? I was like, so yeah, some of the things I have to filter out. I'm like, oh, can't really say that. Might not be a good idea to tell people about. Like, I'll tell you in person. If you go for the drink, I'll tell you everything. I'm always open, and I'm like, oh my god, I did this. Oh, I probably shouldn't have, but I did it. It was whatever. But on live stream like this, I was like, maybe be a little bit cautious. So I'll try and be as open as much as I can, to be honest, about some of the crazy.
Yeah, I think we're okay as long as we don't, like, I always tell, like I told like Arden, it's like, let's not use last names or anything like that. I think we're okay. Like, I think I've been pretty good with that. So, and I think a lot of people are okay with that as well. So yeah.
So is there anybody actually watching? Like, Mike is
yes. Mike is on. I know Mike is on. Yeah, Jade is here and she's sending some messages. So she said, I'm a craps dealer who would love to hear the stories. So she wants to hear your stories.
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you a story about an Israel one, and I forgot it earlier on, right? So when I went to work in Israel, it was excuse me, it was we didn't know that we were going to an illegal casino run by the biggest organized crime family in Israel. So we turned up and we're like, what? They never told us that when they hired us. They were like, okay, so we go there, and then we're working, and it was crazy. Like everywhere we went, because who they were and the boat we were on, we could walk into a bar, all these different bars, and go, and there was quite a few casinos at the time, right? So basically you would walk into a bar and they knew you made a ton of money. We made like a ridiculous money. And you just say, okay, I'm on the Montana, my name's John. They're like, okay, do you want a tab? You're like, all right. And they just give you a bar tab. and you pay the next time you come in. And it's like a lot of casino people, they go to certain bars, whatever. And for this time, we're there. And so it was crazy. Everywhere you go, they were like, because they knew they would just throw, like, you'd be spending so much money. And I remember back when I was in Britain, just before I left, so it was like the late 80s, 90s, whatever, they had a thing about safe drinking, right? And it was like, there was a safe drinking limit for people, right? And it was said like 14 units for women and 21 units for men. And I remember me and my friend Paul worked it out for a week, and we had 147. It was like, oh my God, it was like insane, because you're partying every single night, having like 4 hours sleep, getting up, going to work, bloodshot eyes, like I told you, like going on a speedboat. You're like, oh my God, this is like a really bad idea, like going on and then dealing. Like when we went there, it was myself and 2 friends of mine. We were hired as the casino dealers. I remember the craps dealers, right? And we went there, and for whatever reason, they didn't like craps. They played occasionally, but they didn't like it. But they loved baccarat. Baccarat was massive. Baccarat and roulette was crazy, right? So my friend, like me and my 2 of the friends, we didn't deal any of the games. We just dealt roulettes and we dealt black and craps, right? So they're like, okay, well, nobody's dealing wants to play this. Play craps, and it was just crazy. It was so mad. So they're like, okay, John, learn blackjack. But there was no rules. You could split anything. You could double down on anything. It was just like, wow, this is just crazy stuff. It was a crazy place. But here's a story so I learned blackjack in a legal casino with no rules. And then when I came back to a real casino, they were like, who the hell told you blackjack? This doesn't make sense. You can't split an 8 and a 9. I was like, what do you mean? This is what we're like, that's what they did. It was just like, it literally was crazy. No rules. They're like, oh, I want to split these 2. Okay. And we had, but the funny thing as well, right? We had Israeli inspectors, right? So we had a casino person from Britain who was an inspector, a pit boss, and then we had kind of like an Israeli person who would oversee the table and the other pit boss, who had no idea about the gaming. He would just stand and watch, and we're like, what? What is he doing? It was this weirdest thing. Anyway, so I learned this just mental blackjack. It was just like, and you split, and you just run out of space on the table, because they had so much money. All these like gamblers, and oh yeah, we'll split this, and it was just a mental way to learn it. So when I went to a real casino, they're like, no, you can't blackjack like that. What is that? It was crazy. So, all right, here's another story. Actually, this story I told Lars Calio once. He liked it, actually. I think he turned it into a joke. But anyway, so me and my friend Paul, we're in Israel. Sorry, in Alat, southern Israel, whatever. And there's a place like in the mall. It's called Shilling Guns. And we were sat in this. We went out there for something to eat, and it was kind of like this, like a food court, whatever, right? So we're sat in there. We know no Hebrew, absolutely none at all. Maybe we can count to 3. That's about our extent of our knowledge of Hebrew. So we're sat in this burger place. So I'm sat there, and British people, for whatever reason, we don't like pickles, in burgers and stuff like that. So we're there, and we've ordered our food, and we're sat down, and we're trying to do whatever, get the pickles out of our food. And this Israeli army guy runs in, and he goes like, blah, 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 something, and everyone else is like, oh. And they get up and they go, poof, and they run up, they go like that. Then they run out of the room, and we're like, all is left is me and Paul, and we're like trying to pick the pickles out of our food, and we're like, what's going on? I'm like, me and Paul are like, I don't know. And we're like, well, should we go? I'm like, I don't know. And he comes in again, this Israeli army guy, and he's got a gun, and he runs in, he's like, blah, blah, blah. We're like, what? I have no idea what he's saying. So we're like, my biggest concern is, I need to get this pickle out of my hot dog. So I'm taking it. I'm not going anywhere, so I get rid of this pickle. So anyway, so we're walking out, and then everyone is just like running down the stairs, and we're all like, what's going on? This is crazy. Me and Paul still got our burgers and fries, and we're like, gotta get rid of this pickle. So we walk outside, and then we all have to stand outside this little mall thing, and then we watch, and then they go, boom, and they blew up this package that was there. We're like, we were in a bomb scare, and we had no idea. Everyone else is like, oh my God, let's leave the building. And me and Paul were like, let's get rid of our pickle.
Oh my God.
We're like, oh my God, if it was like said it in anything to be understood, we'd be like pushing all people out of the way. Like, no, because we had no clue. We're like, oh, this is the most important thing right now. Is this?
Oh my God. That's hilarious. See, I didn't. Oh my god, I didn't know you went through that.
Oh yeah, I grew up in. Excuse me. This is another story. Years ago as well, I worked in London. Another like, excuse me. I traveled around a lot, and like in Britain, like the pinnacle where the money is you need to work in London because there's like big money there, right? I mean, I met a friend of mine, like a lot of my friends, we went to work in this, like we worked in Cardiff together, we all knew each other, and you migrate to London because they pay you so much more, and the game is just ridiculous, right? It's just crazy. So me and my friend Paul, whatever, he actually, we went to Israel at one point, and then we this was after that. We ended up going like, hey, let's just go and work in London for a crack. We haven't done it. You need to do it. It's just an experience, right? To see the volume of the money and the type of games. It was like for roulette and craps and everything. It's just insane, right? It's like, so we went there and we lived in this house, and it was like 7 of us who lived in it, and it was only supposed to be 3. And every now and again, the landlord who owned the building, like the house, it was a beautiful house, he would come up and he would inspect it. So all of us would have to leave and kind of disguise the fact that we were living in this house, because it was like, excuse me, we were all like hiding, like literally living in everything, like little nooks. Oh, this is a closet, close enough to a bedroom. I'll sleep in here. Do you know what I mean? It was crazy. And at the time, I remember going to work one time, and back then, I was 20, late 80s, so it was 89, whatever. There was still bomb scares from like the IRA, and they blow up stuff, and it was just crazy. And it would be like totally normal. Well, you'd be on like the LRT going to work, and they come over, like a message come over. There's a bomb scare, and everybody off next stop. So you get off, the train would stop, and you'd have to get off the platform, and you'd have to walk to work, and you'd go whatever, right? They just would stop the tube. And I remember this was kind of close to Christmas. Back then, I had a flat top. Hard to believe with no hair, but I had a flat top. Those. I used to look like Max Headroom, if you can remember that guy. It was so stupid. So anyway, so I come up and I'm trying to get a taxi and to work, and it was too close. The taxi driver was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that. It's too close." No, they wouldn't pick me up. So I had to walk about 5 or 6 blocks, and at the time it was snowing, right? So I'm trudging to work in my uniform, basically, the tuxedo and everything, right? So I'm trudging to work and snowing on, whatever. So as I'm closer, I'm getting to work, I realized my hair froze. So my flat frozen. It wasn't that. It frozen. And I was like, what the hell? It was solid, and I was like, oh, this is the weirdest shit ever. So I go to work, and because it was so normal. They're like, why are you late for work? I was like, well, it was a bomb scare on the tube, and they kicked us out. I couldn't get a taxi, and I had to walk 5 blocks. They're like, oh, no worries, just go and deal over there. So I went to go and deal. And then my hair defrosted, and it started to go from there. It was like, and then it was funny. It was like, because it was super hot in there, right? And I had gel in there, obviously, to keep it up. And then it started like trickling down my face. And this was like a high-end casino. This was like, honestly, I dealt to a Japanese princess there, who was like better in English than me. She was amazing. And I was dealing away, actually, at this point. They threw me on blackjack because I was late. And this lovely woman, she actually turned around and she gave me this like tissue from a bag. And she's like, I think you need to wipe your face. Because I was just like dripping sweat and gel. And it was like, and I had to deal in a tuxedo. They wouldn't let you just deal in a shirt. So I was just like, oh yeah, it was just wild.
Oh my God.
This was the same casino too, right? Back then, so this was like, I was like 23-ish, so it was like 1989. We weren't at British casinos, you weren't allowed to set tips, right? So they would tip like the waitress or whoever. And the waitresses in London, like this one particular casino I worked in, it was like the high-end casino. They were super nice. They had like Bentleys to go and pick up players. It was just like, oh yeah, they would phone them up and they would pick them up these Bentleys, and it was super nice. Excuse me. And the waitresses used to drive like brand new Mercedes because they made so much money. And I remember I was dealing one time, I was on roulette, and they used to have microphones because there's a lot of call bets, right? They had microphones on every single roulette table. So if you said, I was too late or whatever, they would go, hang on, and they would check surveillance, and they go, oh, no, we caught it on surveillance, and, the microphones, oh, yeah, you did say that was on time. So anyway, this one time, this guy's playing, and he threw down, at the time, it was like $10,000. So, sorry, £10,000. So on red or black, one of them, anyway. So which would be what? Now would be like 15,000 Canadian, I suppose. So I'm there, and I'm like, I threw it back. Nope, too late. Nope, whatever. And I, because it's a busy game. And he kicked. Obviously, it won. So then it kicked off. So he's like, okay, check the cameras and check the video. They all know it. So they checked in. It came back, and he's like, okay, yeah. And I'm like, all right, you won. So I had to put his bet up, and I paid it. And he picked up the money, and he went, it's not the bet or the money. It's the principle. And then they just gave it to the waitress. He just gave the waitress 30 grand, not me a penny. And I was like, ah! I was just like, this is a crazy place.
Oh my God.
This is another one. Okay, sorry. I don't know if you're asking
me
questions.
No. This is our test run. So it was more about your stories. We'll do a segment next week, and then I'll try to actually do eCam. So disappointed. But anyways, yeah, no, I'm happy that you're telling me this.
You want to know another one? Okay, so this was the same high-end casino, right? So, and I'm sure we've all had it, right? So I was dealing to this guy, and like I come onto a blackjack table, and he has literally stacks, like, oh my God, pretty much this high, like about 3 or 4 different stacks, and they're like 100 like blacks, right? And he won't color them in. He's like, nope, just bring more. And he was just like, just a dick, right? So I'm like, what? So he's like, no, just bring more in. And so we just kept getting fill after fill, and he just got all literally probably like 5 rows of them, and they're probably like 80 high, right? 100 high, whatever. There was just so many of them, right? And like I said, this was just after I came back from Crazy Blackjack. Remember Crazy Blackjack, where anything goes? So this was, I think, my first night on blackjack. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. Go from like crazy illegal blackjack in Israel to this high-end Mayfair casino in London. And I'm like, because I thought I was going to be a crap dealer, but they threw me on blackjack. So I'm like, oh, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I made a mistake, right? And he was the only one playing, right? And I made a mistake, and I think like he had a blackjack and I had an ace, and I pulled like 2 cards quick. So I didn't have a blackjack, and then like the second card I pulled was an ace, right? And he went, oh, that's the next card out. And I was like, oh, son of all the people, this guy. So I was like, oh. So I slid it under I told the pit manager saw it, and he's like, oh yeah, he's right. Put it under the shoe. It's the next card out. So I was like, oh, son of all people. Oh. So I picked up the cards, and then so he put the maximum bet on it. And it was something crazy. I mean, I think, it was a couple $1,000s, right? And so he's like on his first bet, and then he's got like the minimum bet on the second one. He's looking at me and he's laughing, and I'm like, I just don't want a deal. You know you're going to get an ace. And I was like, son of a... And so while he's there, and then this guy just walked over behind him, and it was like a $10 minimum blackjack table, right? And so he kind of walks up, and then I saw, oh my God, he's going to play. And this asshole doesn't know the other guy's walking up. So he walks up and he puts his $10 bet just down in front of him. And as soon as he put it, I went, boom, 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 boom. I ripped out the cards. And the guy knows that he's not getting that ace. And he's trying to die for the money. I was like, bah, bah, bah. And I threw the cards out. And he's like, no. I was like, bah. And then I put him out. And the guy, of course, the guy in the first box got blackjack. And then the guy had he had like 16 against a face card. And I was like, oh, you want a card on that? I was like super nice. And he was so angry. He's just like, oh, he shouldn't have played. I was like, wow, he put his money down and dealt. What am I going to do? So, of course, he blew his money. And then I was like, I scooped them all up, paid the guy his blackjack. And he picked up his $15 winnings and he's telling him about. And then he walked away. Oh, my God. I really wanted to laugh at the guy. I was like, oh. Sometimes the karma is a bitch.
Oh my God. Oh. Did I ever tell you, oh, man, there's only one time I ever really got mad, and I didn't even show it, but it was and I'm talking recently, and it was well, not recently, it's been a few years now, but I was dealing baccarat, and this was I was just dealing to this one guy, and it was like a reserve table, and he was betting blacks, and he had I don't know, it was like $1,000. And then he went on this run and he had like, yeah, I cracked like $10,000. And then he was just going up and down, up and down. And I think he was betting banker the whole time. And then he flipped and then he bet player and he bet like 7,300 and it was like blacks. So he puts it on and he has his hat. He has like, I don't know, like 5 or something. And then like banker had like natural 8. Dude like grabbed his chips and he whipped them. And then like went over the table and it just like hit me in the face. And it's just like, oh my god. And I was just getting so bad. I was gonna tell him off, and then I just started picking up the chips, and I'm just like taking them from like, cause someone in my shirt, so I'm just taking them out. I was like, oh, there's someone on the chair here. I was just like, yeah, okay, I had enough. I'm like, why did I come back? Why did I come back to dealing? Because I knew it's like I love craps. It's fun. Everyone there was like really nice, and it's good. I can tolerate Pai Gow tiles. I can tolerate roulette, but then like you get on baccarat, it's like, oh my god, what am I doing?
I just remember. I know it's weird. Like when you talk, like when you talking like weird things. That's what I kind of like. Doing things like this and talking with friends about casino days, because a lot of stuff, it kind of like sparks them and, oh yeah, this is weird. That just remember like you talking about, oh yeah, my shirt and things like that. My friend Paul, when we first trained for roulette, he was dealing one time to this guy, and it was like a Saturday night, and he was just being a jerk. He's drunk, and and he kept asking for like like I want 200, I want all chips, like 200 chips. But he played like 20 back then. We had like 25-cent roulette, right? But it looked like he was betting big, but I'm like, dude, man, you're just trying to impress people with a big stack, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He would always ask for like as much chips as he can to look like he was a big deal. And he was just a jerk. And my friend Paul, one time, he'd had enough of him after like an hour of dealing to him. And the guy went, it is like 200 and something on payouts. And then he went around and he paid the chips, and then he just pushed them off the table into his lap. All 200. He pushed them off the table into his lap, and then he went, hey, Magomed, poof, and then he spun the ball.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
But that was back we didn't accept tips, so we're like, yeah, we'll do whatever. You want to mess with it?
Was the money good even though you didn't accept tips? Was it like equivalent?
It was weird. Like the casino I worked in, like I trained in Cardiff in the Croops. There was like at the time there was only 2 casinos in the city, right? There was a smaller kind of like a chain casino, like if you imagine, like I know, they had branches, casinos all over the country, and it was like a privately owned one. And the pay they gave us was kind of like equivalent of the next pay grade up for the other casinos. So if you were if I was a dealer here, I was getting kind of like a pit boss wage, and if you're a pit boss, you were getting like a pit manager wage, and so they probably just did it so they could just like abuse you, and like, but a lot of people I knew left and went to work in the other casino because all right, they paid you less, but they had way more fun, and they would do real crazy stuff like I don't know if I told you this before. I ended up working, it was called like Tiberius, right? Like this chain of casinos. And I worked with one, actually I worked in the one in Cardiff, and then I worked in the one in a different city. And they used to kind of like small minimums, like okay, we need to win this much every month, right? Every day. So what they would do, they would go, okay, the managers would go down and say that night and say, okay, we're this close to winning it. If we get this total today, the bar's open and it's free beer, as much as you want until we leave. And we're like, what? So everyone's like, the last hour, usually no one cares about the result, right? But there, they'd be like, okay, how far are we up? We're like, okay, we're doing, and they were like, oh, crazy like this, because they know, like, you stay as long as the pit manager want to stay, and it's all draft beer, and everyone's partying and drinking, like, it's just madness. And so, yeah, but it was like, when I worked, they were like, nope, they paid you more, it was rigid, and it was like more professional, I guess, but so many people I worked with were like, let's just go work there. It's way more fun, and they'd have a great time. I worked with the one in the same kind of chain in Bristol. There's lots of stories about that one too. But anyway, one night, the craps table made like 3 times whatever it was supposed to make, like 3 or 4 times what the casino was supposed to make, right? And but the rest of the casino blew out, so it never made like the daily budget they had to make, right? So the pit manager was so mad. He's like, right, none of you can drink. All of you dice dealers, free drinks. So it was like, what? So like, get up there and so he made us drink just to punish the other casino dealers. And it was like, literally, we're all there like, I shouldn't do this. They're gonna hate me. And we, like you could see, they even shut it down early. So like like I can't remember, the casino closed at like 2:00, whatever it was. They shut us down at like 12. They're like, get up there and drink. Show these people how to make money. So it was just crazy. Like, and if, honest to God, I've never had so many dirty looks from friends by drinking beer. You can see.
Oh my God. Oh, you probably would have loved it. Like, well, right before you got there, because like the bar was the bar at the front when you started at the Palace? Like when you got in the door, was it like right there to the right of the main entrance?
When I was there when the first time. Remember when the stairs were? When I first started the Palace, where the stairs were, they kind of, I think if I remember rightly, it was kind of opposite. There were some stairs, and you go into the staff room.
Oh yeah, remember?
Yeah. And I remember my first day, and I'm like, whatever. First day in a casino, it's not exactly the first time for me. I'm like, whatever. And I went and I sat down, and this woman came over to me and said, you can't sit there. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, that's so-and-so's spot. I'm like, but are they here right now? No, that's her spot. I'm like, what difference does it make? They're dealing. They're like, oh, can't sit in this. I'm like, how about that? Nope, can't sit there either. That's so-and-so's spot. Like with knitting and all these other Sudoku and all this. I was like, what? So it was like all these weird spots I couldn't sit in. I was like, this is weird. This is new. And I was like, yeah. So no, that's when I worked there and they did the renovations. And I remember being nosy. I remember going up. Remember you can go up those stairs, and during construction they had a door, and so I went because I was nosy. I'm like, oh, let's just go and see what they're doing. So I walked up and I opened the door and went, and I'm looking around. Probably shouldn't have. Guaranteed I shouldn't have. And I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. And then I turned around and there was no handle on the inside, so I was stuck there like, let me out. And it was like, a little window, this big whatever. And I'm like,
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I used to love that place. Before the renovations, when they had the bar at the front, and they let us order as much as we wanted to. So then you could see like right before, because the casino closed at 2, and like right before 2, you could see like this whole like 3 tables that was all like full of drinks, like just up to like the rim. It's like just drinks, and it was like, wow. Oh man, I think my first birthday, I'll never forget that, because everyone's like, yeah, come on, let's go have some shots. And I think it was like supposed to be, I think I did 10 shots in like 30 minutes, which was like, and they weren't like lemon drops or anything. It's just like, oh, JJ, come on over here. Okay, yeah, okay. Make something gross, right? And it was just like, okay, this one's got Bailey's in it, and it looks like a brain, okay? Like, and I didn't say no to anything, and I think I was fine until like, I think it was a double jack. I don't know what that was. It was so gross, and I just got so beat up, and we all wanted to go to Reds, and here I am, and I'm a new dealer still, right? And we end up going to Reds, and I got in the door and I couldn't even make it. Like I went to the bathroom, I threw up. I was like, oh my God. And then you see 3 security guards come up to me and they're like, you know what you need? You need some fresh air. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And they ended up taking me out. I didn't know I was getting kicked out because I'm so naive. And there is I think you remember, I don't know if you, I think you must have worked with Matt and Nicole.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, so mine.
Yeah. So Matt was a comedian dude, right? And he worked at I think he was selling cars. So he had this ridiculous, I think it was a Cadillac, but it was a nice convertible. So it was a nice day, because my birthday's in July. Nice day, they come out and he's like, hey, how's it going? It's good. They picked me up, they threw me in the back seat. And then they parked the car and they went inside and went bowling. And I was passed out in the back seat of his car. And I was like, oh My God, what's going on? Nobody even like checked up on me. I think I still had my wallet. I could have got robbed, but nobody cared. But that was my birthday. So funny. Yeah, I've never had that. It was a variety of alcohol. It wasn't the same shot. It was like 10 different shots, and I've never. Nobody's stomach can handle that. I was just.
Oh, I hate shots. But yeah, I remember now that the bar when you used to go in, you walk, it was on the right hand side, and there was that kind of like fence around it, whatever. Yeah, it was fun. And then do you remember you used to go over BPs afterwards, and then you would
Yeah.
that last like hour between like 2 and 3, and you'd call over the beers like, oh, we want like 9 pitches of whatever it was, the team pitches and stuff like that. Oh my God. You probably shouldn't have done it, but I mean, oh, how many people drove home drunk?
Oh yeah, no
From
comment
that,
on that.
okay, how much could he drink in an hour right before going home?
I think we all, you know why we did that? We did that because we were so mad because we couldn't drink at our own casino. Like everyone loved the fact. Well, and I guess in hindsight, obviously it wasn't safe, but everyone loved the fact that all those drinks were there and set up. And then it's like, nope, you can't do that anymore. So then it's like, well, whatever. And then we just went across the street, anyways. But we played pool there, and yeah, I threw up there too once on a birthday too. So yeah, good times. And after that, I never did. Well, okay, one time I did, but yeah, I mean that's the only time when I was working in a casino. Like I ended up getting sick from the people because of the people that I worked with. They're so nice and caring. Hooked me up with drinks.
When I first it used to be like I said when I know I'm not sure if I told you this, but I may say things a few more times. When I first worked in the casinos back in Britain, like all the casinos, like late 80s, early 90s, if you worked a double, they give you an hour off and they would pay you. And mostly you like for you to go and eat. Nobody did. They went to the nearest bar, drank as much alcohol as they could, and then went back to work. But the casino I worked in, they gave you 2 hours. I mean, I was like 18, and I would go to they're like, okay, I was broke, and they're like, oh, I'll book a double, and like, go and they're like, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, just come with us. All these like older guys like me, oh, just don't worry, we'll show you the ropes. You go over there, and they would I mean, it wasn't just like the dealers, it was like all of them, like the dealers, the pit bosses, pit managers would just drink as much as they could and then go back and deal. And I was like, what the heck have I got into? It was madness. I remember one time, the first time it happened, I came and I was dealing. This was because I only dealt with lads, and I remember coming back and I was dealing to this guy, this older like a Chinese guy, and he kept asking, like he couldn't, I couldn't understand him, he couldn't understand me probably, and I kept paying him out, and he was like, and he was complaining, and the pit boss was drunk, and I was drunk, and I'm paying it out, and it was all wrong for an hour, and at the end when I got off, I was like, I've been paying him as if he was playing like quarters, and he was like dollars. So I've been ripping. But at the end, he was just like, he just gave up. Because he knew, like, he was like, whatever. He was like, yeah. And I was like, none of, yeah, it was just such a crazy place. And it was like, oh my God, it was funny.
Oh my God. How many well, I meant to always ask everybody that was on the channel so far, but what was your favorite casino? And whatever criteria you want. So like deal or play, but what was your favorite casino?
The favorites, I tell you what, for me, and I've said this like probably a few times, the best time I ever had in any casino was the first shift I worked for Royal Caribbean. I joined the Legend. So this is a story. So I joined the Legend in Vancouver. Me and my friend Dave. So we flew. Neither of us had been to Canada before, right? So we both got a job. We both fly out to Vancouver. They put us up 2 nights in a hotel in the middle of nowhere. We're like, I don't know Vancouver. He's never been outside of Britain. So anyway, so they put us up in this hotel, and both of us like to drink and party and whatever and play pool. So we're like, oh, there's a hotel, there's a bar sort of next to the hotel, right? So let's just go over there. We don't want to go out, we get lost, whatever. So anyway, so we packed the bags, went over to the spa, and we started talking to these two guys. He just came up, and I had this red denim jacket, like a Levi jacket. Mine was like red. Red's my favorite color, but whatever. And I had this bright denim jacket. So anyway, these two guys come over and they started talking to us. And we're like, oh yeah, we're just waiting to play pool. And they're like, oh, where are you from? And like, we're from Britain, we're casino. And they seemed okay. One of them was like super friendly, and the other one was kind of getting like, they were both kind of drunk. We were kind of drunk. So this one guy's kind of getting more and more aggressive. So I remember saying to my friend Dave, I'm like, I think they're going to fight us. This is weird. So anyway, they turns around and they're like, okay, we're going to show you how Canadians drink. And we're like, okay, what do you want to do? They're like, we're going to drink shots. We're like, okay, so let's go to the bar. So the guy orders like 20 shots, like 5 each, for my friend and whatever. So like, okay. So they're like, we're going to race you. We're like, okay, let's go for it. I don't care. So we're like, me and my friend Dave were like, 5 shots? So I think it was like tequila or whatever it was. So we're like, oh, me and my friend were like, go. And we just blew through them all. And we looked over. The one guy had 1, and we're like, oh, sorry, I can't do it anymore. The other guy managed 2, and he was like, and me, and we're like, what? So we're like, all right. And they're like, oh, we can't drink anymore. So we're like, oh, okay. Do you mind if we do it? So then we finished theirs. And then, so we go back and we started to play pool. And this one guy who was kind of like weirdly aggressive kept throwing my coat on the floor, but not when I was looking. I'm like, why is my coat keep going on the floor? Why? It's really weird. He started to get more and more aggressive. And then his brother started to get mad at him. And then his brother and him started to fight, literally fist fighting in a bar by the pool table. And me and my friend Dave were like, what is going on? This is the weirdest thing ever. So they both get kicked out of this bar. I mean, me and my friend Dave were like, are all Canadians like this? It's so strange. This is the weirdest thing. Anyway, so the next day we joined the Legend, and we did like Vancouver, whatever, for like a month and whatever. But that was the best group of casino people I'd ever worked with. In all like 19 years I'd worked in casino. It was amazing. We had so much fun. I got in so much trouble. I had so many laughs. And I still talk to like a lot of the people I work with, like even today. And even most of them still say, out of all the ships and the contracts they'd ever worked with, it was just, serendipity that all these people were there at the right time. And it was just like so much fun. Yeah, it was really, that was the Legend of the Seas, 96 to 97 was the best casino I ever worked in.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I honestly love the show. Yeah, man. And Scott's like, did you even work on the ships? I got so mad. I'm like, what? Honestly. There's a whole story behind why I didn't. Well, like I had the contracts right there actually, and I was supposed to go on the Sovereign, and there's a big story why I didn't. A little personal, but maybe I'll share it with the channel one day. But man, my first contract was amazing. Like the cool thing about it was that like I went on the same time Joe did, and we were both together for like that contract, which was nice. And then like Tony was there as well, and Steph was there as well. So it was nice because it wasn't just one person going out on their own, right? So although like I wasn't roommates with Joe, I got on the ship, and it was a friend from England, and his name's Lee Amistoy, and he's just the first time we met, he's just like, oh hey, you're my roommate. I'm like, yeah. Do you want a drink? Yeah. We were both like, okay, good, because like. He's like, if you didn't say yes to that, I don't know if we'd get along. And I'm like, okay, good. Because I was just like, okay, I hope you drink, because if you don't, then we're messed. But he was a great guy. And he was there for a couple months. And then like Joe, I ended up actually just rooming with Joe for the rest of my contract, which was so cool because we ended up going from like, we did Alaska, we did Hawaii, we did Central America, Caribbean, and South America. 6 months. Like 52 ports.
Wow, that's
incredible. Yeah, repositioning and everything, right? And it's like, I'm talking to like a couple of people, I'm like, yeah, my last contract was 6 months here in Alaska. I'm like, man, that sucks. Like, I don't want to be here for 6 months.
First contracts, I did 1 month in Alaska, then right. It was probably the worst itinerary ever. We did a month in Alaska, then we did a repositioning, so 2 cruises, 3 weeks in like Hawaii. And then I did 27 Panama Canal cruises. And I never saw it once. in newlywed, nearly dead, going in and out, never saw it once. Like what the? But it's so much fun. Oh my god! It's like we had 3 nights overnight in Acapulco. Crazy time, man. Crazy Christmas cruise.
Oh
Overnight.
wow.
Oh, sorry, the New Year's Eve cruise that didn't end until the 7th of January. It was just crazy. But it was so much fun, even though the ports were shitty and like itinerary wasn't that great. But yeah, it was still one of my favorite contracts with any company that I'd work for. I'd work for however many.
Oh yeah. No, I hated that. Well, no, I didn't hate it. The Panama Canal cruise was ridiculous, and it's funny you say you never saw it. I woke up one morning and then I like took 3 pictures, then I went straight back to bed. I was like, that's it. The best thing about Panama Canal was that the water was nice. That was it.
I remember the only time I saw it was like when you go through the last lock, and
Yeah.
we were on a legend, whatever, and the mess. There was portals there, and you'd look out and you go, oh, there it is, and you see the wall as you're driving past. Right, and like that was the closest thing I ever saw, because it was always like, oh, what we got tomorrow? Oh, we got the root canal. Oh, I get party, and we just like party like crazy, and you just like, oh, wake up, and he's like 2 in the afternoon, whatever it was. It was just like, oh my god, no.
Oh my god. What was your favorite cruise then?
Um, I really like New York, Bermuda, only because it was easy. You never really made much money, but it was like Bermuda is really nice. Like my last, literally, it was like Rhonda and I. If anyone doesn't know, my wife and I, we chose that as our last cruise ever. We were like, you know what? It's not about the money anymore. Let's just have just like a chill, fun. And my wife hadn't done it before. I did. On a different company, I got fired, and there's a really long, fun story about that. And so I was like, yeah, well, let's just do this. 3.5 days a week off in Bermuda. What's not to like about it, right? So yeah, we're not going to make any money, but let's just do that. And I was supposed to bring out. It was after that cruise, I was supposed to bring out to join the Voyager from like Finland, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I wasn't going to get promoted from like supervisor, whatever it was, the assistant manager. And I was like, I'm not going back. And at the time, it was when Craps were about to open in Canada. And I was like, let's just do this. Let's just try this and see where it goes. And the weird thing was, I remember like Royal Caribbean, they phoned me, the head office, and like, are you in Finland? I was like, nope. You just phoned me in Canada. How am I in Finland? And they went, well, you've been spotted in Finland. I was like, pretty sure it's not me. And they were like, well, why did you just not go back? I said, well, you weren't going to promote me to assistant manager. So I was like, you know what? Something else has come up. So I'm just going to try this instead. So I could have come on the Voyager. At the time, it was the biggest ship in the world. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah. Heartbreaking. I wonder. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go on.
No, for me, like I said, it's heartbreaking. I don't know how many contracts I would have done. I definitely wanted to do like the Voyager Adventure, like that size of ship, like after the Sovereign. But yeah. Anyways.
Well, I always wanted to go to Asia. I was like, and they literally blatantly just turned around and said, "You've got no chance." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, you deal dice at whatever level, the A level, whatever, A dealer, whatever." They're like, "You're never going to get stuck in Asia. There's no, you don't have a chance." And I even worked for a different company like years ago, and they pretty much said the same thing. I was like, "Oh my god, you get like penalized for like how good you can do something, whereas where you're going to go." They're like, "Well, they're going to stick you here, and that's the only place you're going to go because there's busy games or whatever, right? There's more." So I was like, "Well, that sucks." So yeah, so that was the thing that I tried a few times. They're like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Oh wow.
You're not going to go to Asia."
I didn't know
Europe.
that.
Europe was fun.
Oh yeah. Was it? Did you make? Well, no. Because I asked Mike that question too. Did you make any money while you were there? But
No, I remember I went to this. So we did. Excuse me. The fun part was when we did a lot of like Norway cruises out of Britain, right? So we would sail out of.
cool.
Some of the times we were sailing out of Harwich, right? So for us, British people, it's like, oh, this is cool. We can go off and do whatever. And I remember two cruises around Norway. We had British people, like I said, British casinos at the time. They never tipped, right? And I remember one cruise we had on. I think it was like 6. This was like the legend, and they probably only had like 1,000 passengers. I mean, it wasn't very big. And one cruise we had like 600 British pensioners, and the second cruise we had like 500 British pensioners. So everybody got stiffed. They stiffed everybody. They're like, pensioners are not going to tip. So we made like no money. It was the first time I'd ever worked for Royal Caribbean where there was like a minimum guarantee that they would pay you.
Yeah.
We made minimum for these 2 Norway cruises, and I remember we went to it was like the Midnight Sun cruise where we stayed at the Arctic Circle, and we went to this place called Honnesvag, and it was like this port, and from there you could get like an excursion into the Arctic Circle and do whatever. Like me, like at the time, Rhonda was still I think she was in Canada at the time, or she might have been on the ship, whatever. It was just kind of a different timing. So anyway, so I went there, and me and my friends, and we were like, okay, it's Honnesvag. We go there. It's a tiny little fishing town. So we walk into this bar, and it was like an English bar type, and it was all like soccer flags, like scarves everywhere. And I'm like, oh, and soccer was on. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it was like ridiculously expensive. And I spent every single dollar I'd made the entire cruise before in that bar in the afternoon. And it was crazy. And we were there. And I remember this guy came up to us, and he's like, oh, you're from the ship, the cruise. And I'm like, oh, I mean, we're all British. Like, there's like 5 of us. And then he all of a sudden, another thing again, he gets drunk, and he's like, I'm the hardest man in Honnesvag. And he wanted to fight us. And we're like, what the hell is going on with this place? And then he eventually, all these kids were drunk and tipping whatever. And even though it was crazy expensive, then he gets kicked out of this bar. I'm like, this is the strangest place ever. And then we had this, there was a crew party, right? So, and so on the, the midnight sun, so the sun never sets. It came down to, like there, I suppose, and there, and then it goes up. I remember going back to the ship and, been drinking in the afternoon. And I was like, oh, don't want to get too drunk, because there's a party tonight. So anyway, I go back and I go to my cabin, and I fell asleep. I'm like, oh, where's my roommate? Oh, I don't know, whatever. So I go upstairs and I can't find anybody. I'm like, what the hell? Everything's broad daylight. And I'm like, am I early for the party? Am I early for the group? And I slept through the whole thing. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and everybody had partied themselves out and gone to bed. And I was like, what the hell? And I just missed the whole thing because of the whole midnight sun thing. It was crazy.
Oh my God. Holy cow. Oh man, John, so good to talk to you, honestly. Look, we cracked an hour. Well, I cracked an hour. I think you got on after, but so what do you want to do next week? So I do want to try Ecamm, so I'm hoping that I'll get one of these set up here, and then we can. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is fun. I enjoy it. I mean, but I'm sure for your channel, you might want to get like other people on. I mean, but I mean, to be honest, I think it's kind of fun to chat and talk about craps and old times and stories and stuff like that. So I'm more than willing to do it again if you want to, and I find it's kind of. But if you feel like I'm pretty sure everyone's bored, I'll listen to the bald Welsh guy. I'm okay if you don't have me on for a few weeks or whatever.
No. You're the co-host for this segment now, so that's good. Mike was trying to get on, but he doesn't know how to allow camera and microphone access. So, but I saw I saw him there.
But to be honest, this would be really fun. The more people you have on there,
yep.
Because then you're kind of like, yeah, am I with this? Or did you do that? Have you ever tried this?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So the whole idea was, oh man, I have these. Jade, are you still there? Because I have these cards and I've been trying to give them away, and I keep showing these every segment. So next Wednesday, we'll do a couple draws because these cards are pretty cool. Yeah, I bought these because I want to open them. I bought 2 of everything because I want to open them up. They're really different. I don't know. It's for those magician guys and whatnot.
Oh.
So I wanted to just get a whole bunch of different things. I bought poker chips and stuff. Oh my God. I'm going a little crazy with it. I have to take a break from buying cool stuff. But
yeah. Lately I've got this weird habit from small kitchen appliances. It's the weirdest stuff. I was like, I'm on Amazon, I'm like, what's a 1-pot accessory? I'm like, oh, buy it right now. It can be there tomorrow. Like, oh, dude. Like, and then I buy it. I'm like, am I even going to use it? Probably not. It just sits in it like some weird hoarded in my pantry.
Oh no, yeah, my wife got into that for a while. So we do have like a slow cooker. We have something similar to your cookers there. That picture you gave me, I'm like, oh, I think I have the same brand. So
At
you're
one
not
point,
alone.
at one point, I had 4 slow cookers. 4. It was like, what am I? Even myself, I was like, this is starting to become a problem. You know, I have a big one, then a couple of smaller ones. One's a travel one. One's got like 2 things. One's got 3 things. I was like, dear God, what am I doing?
It's like, why, why is why are all of them on? Oh no, everyone gets their own portion. See, it's all cooked separately.
It was, you know what? I would use them all Christmas Day. I would get up like super early Christmas Day because Christmas Day is always my house, and it has been since I came to Canada. So Christmas Day, everybody, like, you know, my wife's family would come to my house, and I would have literally Christmas dinner cooked or starting to cook most of it by about 9 o'clock in the morning. It was like, okay, we're done now. It's time to start drinking because, you know, I have a brother who lives in Australia, and I have you know, my family like in Wales, so they're like 7 hours ahead. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll start drinking because they're probably drinking as well. So, you know, oh my God, it was so it was mad.
Sorry, I dropped something. Oh man. Well, hey, that's cool. I'm glad that you're collecting something at least. Sorry, I gotta plug in. I have to plug in. Yeah, I'm having fun with this. I want to do some giveaways. Oh, look who's on. Hold on a sec here. Let me plug in first. Uh, Hi Tim. I definitely agree. It's a crew that makes your experience memorable. So Tim, I got to work with Tim. So after this whole heartbreak about not being able to go on to the Sovereign, I did end up meeting a really good group of kids there up in Grand Prairie. So that's where I met Sebas actually for the first
Okay.
time. Tim, wow, he's one of my favorite people up there. He was got to teach him craps, and actually, I actually rented from him for a while there. So, um, yeah, you know what? For one thing I do love is the fact that I had that opportunity to actually train craps. And when we were talking before, John, to kind of teach like your style and like pass it down, it was cool to see like it was cool to see all of them grow together. So kind of like how we did when we started, it was the same thing there. The whole group kind of meshed together, and they were like, what was so cool about it was that they were a unit. And you know, you're as good as you can be, like the LeBron James of craps, but you know, it's your team, right? It's your whole team that kind of gets the whole game moving. So I really was proud of that group. So
I think that's what makes it fun, right? It's the people you work with on the game. I mean, I've been sometimes where you're like, I don't really like any of these guys, right? And it's just like, maybe I should just leave, or I can't wait for my break, or, you know, like, or people are like, you're really kind of like, and it's sad to say it, right? Sometimes people are like dull and uninterested, right? And you're like, you kind of kill the atmosphere of the game. All of us are having a laugh, and then someone comes on stick, and you're like, oh, okay,
yeah.
just kill it. Maybe 20 minutes will go past fast. You know what I mean? So, but it's, yeah, that's the stuff that I like to, the people you work with. I remember one time Lars was teaching craps in Red Deer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, oh, do you mind coming down one day and just, you know, helping me out? So I was like, yeah, okay. So we drove down there. I can't remember the name of the casino, but I remember it got robbed, I think like the day before or a week before, just before anyway, by some guy. And he got away on a bicycle. I was like, what kind of place is this? And I think it was the first time I went to Red Deer. I was like, and he was like, oh yeah, they got robbed and the guy got away on a bicycle. I was like, what do they have police? What is this place? This is the crazy thing. Yeah, so I went there and I kind of, like, he taught the game. I kind of like played and said, oh, maybe do this, or, you know, have you thought of doing this, you know, when you do things? And yeah, it was weird. I ended up, someone years after, they were like, oh, I met a guy you trained in Red Deer. I was like, I didn't train anybody in Red Deer. I went there one day for like a few hours, and I helped a friend out when he was training, but I didn't train anybody. But no, it was yeah. I think that's the only thing, to be honest, that I mostly miss from casinos is just the people on the table and the people I used to work with, and afterwards as well. You know, like because you whatever happens for the most of the part, right? For whatever happens on a table, and if you're the boxman, sometimes you're like you give somebody shit, or they're the dealer and you're the dealer, and you're getting crap for whatever reason, and you're like, oh okay. But then you go up afterwards, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's all done now. Let's go party and have some fun, right? So,
oh yeah.
Of course, there was some people who just kind of took it beyond that, and you're like, all right, dude, then you don't part with that. But most of the people I work with were kind of cool afterwards, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing I love about Grand Prairie, because they were a group when I got there, and they, that's kind of where I had the whole idea of like having poker nights, because like they were having poker nights, everyone would kind of get together. It wasn't a lot of money or anything, but it was just fun because like everyone was just there. Yeah, everybody really helped each other. I really liked that. So then when I came back to Edmonton, well, like I met Steph, right? And then we ended up like doing poker nights, and that was the whole thing. It was just the whole idea of just getting everyone together. It wasn't really about the poker, although I took it too far. I was taking videos, and I was like doing statistics and like making rankings and stuff like an idiot. Yeah, I found that fun. It's like, oh, let's do like a whole 50 tournament series. Oh my god! After like 4 tournaments, I think everyone was so mad at each other because everyone was just getting run over, losing $20 every single night. It's like, oh, this isn't fun.
Well, I remember, like, Lisa too, don't you, from like your poker nights and things like that?
She was there when we first had, when we first started doing that. But yeah.
Yeah, because her youngest daughter went to like elementary school, like all whatever 5 years, 6 years, whatever.
Oh, sorry, wrong Lisa. You're talking about Lisa. Yeah, I know. I actually went to her house, and played poker. Yeah. Yeah, she told me she knew you. She said you're hilarious, and I was like, "Yep, that's the John." Yeah, go ahead. No, your kids grew up together, right?
Cool, yeah. So and they were really like close. Like there was like 4 of them. They were really close from like grade 1 up to like grade 7, whatever it is. Grade 6, super close. So it was like my son and there was like 4 of them that were super close, and yeah. So that's how I knew Lisa from there.
Oh yeah.
And we just like still get friends, I suppose.
Yeah. She knows my brother and my brother's friends, so. But yeah, I first met her when she had like a massive poker game, and she's just, I guess she asked my brother for some advice, and then my brother just kind of referred me. So that's when I first started talking to her. But yeah, she had, she did like she does a yearly game. It's kind of fun, and it just gets a lot of people together. And yeah, so I just gave her some advice on that, because me with my, did I tell you I had a 70-player tournament in this house? That was one. I can't believe it. I had 70 people came over, and the whole thing, like what happened there is that I had our little group of like, I think it was like 30 people. Then my friend from high school is like, yeah, I have a game too. We should put them together. I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. I was like, how many people you got? I was like, oh, maybe like 20. I'm like, okay, I think I can do that. I had like 7 poker tables set up. I was like, we don't need all of these. All these guys came and they brought their girlfriends, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna play too. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I had 6 tables in the basement and then 1 in the living room. And like, it was insane. I've never had that many people in this house since. I had all the chairs and stuff ready for it, and I got knocked out so early that I ended up just like basically managing the whole game, which made it like so smooth. The next morning, there's 3 neighbors that came to the door, and they just knocked and like, don't ever do that again. Couldn't even park outside of my own house. What are you doing?
Yeah, that must have been a parking nightmare. 70 people.
Just my neighbors came, and they're like, don't ever do that again. I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was gonna happen. So yeah, it was insane. And it's funny because the people at Palace are like, you had more players at your house than we did here at our tournament. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh my god. Anyways, so so next week, I don't know. Remember that question you said? Let's do that question about whether the question about the odds. So I did a poll, and I did one on a casino site, and it's mostly American, and they went off on it. They went off, like there's so many replies on it. I think we can kind of go through that. But then I also went on a regular crap site, and then I asked like players. They went off on it as well. So it was a good question. But I think we can talk about that. The other one, the question that I had was, should there still be a big 6 and 8 on the layout or not?
Personally, like, I think now there was a lot of things that, like years ago where you're doing things, you're like, oh, you're ripping off people. I remember first day I came to the Palace Casino, first game I ever had, when they were going, Horn Ace Deuce. I'm like, it's the dumbest bet in the world. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't bet that. Just don't bet it. And we're like, okay, just put four, any, don't do that, right? And they were like, why? And I'm like, okay, whatever happens, you're going to make more money doing it this way, or you break even, whatever. And customers appreciate that. They're like, okay, well, that's just a blatant ripoff. Like, I mean, like, why have two bets there, which one rips off the inexperienced and the novice players when there's a better option for them? Like, just get rid of it. Like, it just that stuff used to drive me crazy. It's like, you're gonna make your money. You just need them to stay on the table, right? So don't put stuff on there like that blatantly rips them off. And it's just like that stuff. You just antagonize players once they realize that. If you turn around and say, put your money on the big 6 and 8 there and whatever, and you're like, some other players go, do you know what? They're doing that because you get paid less money, so they're ripping you. Like, they lose anyway.
Yeah.
Why make them lose even worse? Like, just don't give them a bad experience, right? I mean, like, I don't know. That stuff used to drive me crazy, right? Like, why have like, okay, so do they? I haven't been in a while, so I played craps. Do they still tell people, like, in Edmonton, they throw in like, I used to, no, do it this way, just for anyone, or will they just go, yep, I used to, just because it's easier?
Like, yeah, a lot of it is situational now. It depends on whether you like the person coming in or not. There's a lot of that now. It's like, if it's a guy that you think is nice, he's a tipper or whatever, then yeah, for sure. If it's someone that you want on the table, yeah.
See, this is what used to drive me, like, and I was like, I probably, like, now in hindsight, I probably should have done it this way, right? Like, if I walk up to a table and you're doing to this one guy, I'm like, man, but you're really awesome, and to this other people because they tip, I'd be like, well, now in hindsight, I'd be like, man, that guy, why isn't he doing the same stuff to him? You know what I mean? Like, it should be we shouldn't differentiate the quality of service you get by if you pay this guy tips. I know I did it, and I was terrible, especially on stick. I would give 20 minutes, and sometimes I would be an ass, and I'd be like, do all the stuff, nothing happens. I'm like, okay, next time I'm on a stick, I'll just call the numbers, and they'd be like, bye. And because I used to say a lot, and I used to get all enthusiastic and stuff like that, people would be like, oh, how come you're not singing the songs? I'm like, it's like a jukebox. You got to put your money in to hear the song. And it was kind of a jerky kind of move. But in hindsight, it's like, should you do that, right?
Tim asks, are two-ways still allowed? Yes, they are still allowed. They've kind of regulated it a little bit better. It's not as anal as it was before. You could, if the limit's $50, you could still go like 50-50. I don't think there's a lot of like pushback on that anymore. Back in the day there was, and I know that was like something that we ran into, because it's like, if the maximum was like $25, you weren't allowed to bet for the dealers. And I think that was a lot of like, just, the commission. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not gonna say any names, otherwise we'll get in trouble. But it's a different point of view back then. More about like, unless that's a thing, John. We talk about like table game security and whatnot, and I think a lot of people use that as an excuse as to like why the game won't evolve, why like the way that I deal or the way that I learned from you isn't really acceptable, you know. And we'll talk. Yeah, I think we'll talk about that next week about this book. Right? Is this book like the actual Bible? Are we supposed to follow this? Is this New Testament or Old Testament? You know,
And
when do we evolve?
yeah, I remember at the Palace Casino, and sometimes they would call down and they'd be like, "Yeah, when I first started, and I was dealing there, and they'd be like, yeah, John, he didn't do this." I'm like, "Okay, did he hear the call bets? Did he hear what that we just took out of the bet?" And I said,
Yeah,
"Feel free for that guy to come down and talk to me about this game. I'll talk to him about any kind of the game, and maybe he can explain some of the nuances that I don't know, because I'm pretty sure I know a little bit more than this guy who watched the video one time and has never dealt it." Doesn't understand. All he sees is like, okay, and if they want it to become pedestrian, then if you can't follow the game, stop trying to criticize the people who deal the game. I understand there's a lot of people cheating, but that's the whole purpose of, like, you have somebody sitting box who's good, somebody who's stick is good. You can watch different ends. You see the action. You see what's going on. Realistically, if they were cheating, the eye in the sky are pretty much not going to catch it, right? If you're, I think anyway, from the dealer's perspective,
yeah.
for the
No, you're
most part,
right.
right?
I can say that was a call bet anytime because there's no audio on the table. So
Yeah, right. So you can say, "Oh, you underpaid him by $5." No, I didn't. I backed up his odd weight. I backed up his center action. I did this. I did that. He has it every roll. Do you want to do this? Da-da-da. So that's why I think craps is a really difficult game to actually monitor as a surveillance, right? Because unless they have the cameras, I remember one place that they had them, like the place I worked in London, the crazy place with, they had them there, and it really killed the atmosphere of the game because everybody was like, all the dealers and the boxmen were super paranoid about saying anything. They'd be like, okay, no, like the game would die and you just talk garbage about, this person, this, whatever. You just goof around. Well, you couldn't say it because, like, oh my God, they're listening. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if they are, but maybe they aren't. It was just like, oh, this is just crazy. So, yeah. It was, so it kind of killed the whole, like, enjoyment of the table.
oh yeah. Do you remember the game in like? Did you go in the casino in Aruba? I think it was Crystal Casino. I think it's called Crystal. They had the stick man on a microphone.
I went to this is a gospel story. Kevin O'Donnell he's from Edmonton, and
Yep.
he's such a fun. You know Kevin O'Donnell, big guy.
My brother knows him. Yeah.
Oh man, he was so much fun. I mean, him, right? He was just huge, just massive. Whoa, just a beast of a guy, but so much fun. He was like a gentle giant. And anyway, we come up with this like, both of us just used to goof around, right? We're like, okay, we're gonna go to a casino and we're gonna bet blackjack and we're gonna get over 11 double, under 11 stay, no matter what the dealers have, right? So we walked into the casino, and this casino you're talking about, Crystal, and we walk in and we're like, we buy in for like $100 each, and we're like, okay. And it was, oh yeah, the other part of it was press until you lose. That was the other thing. So it was just like, you just keep pressing. So the first hand, we're like, okay, so we start playing, and we just happen to be like the last two squares. Like, I'm on one, and the other one, I've got 6 against like a 10, and Kevin's got like a 12 against the 10, and he's like, okay, double. Everyone's like, what? So he doubles, and because he's massive, no one's going to say nothing, and he pulls like a 7 or something, and then like, so he's like, ah! And then I stay, and they were like, you've got 6. I was like, stay, my money, not pulling it. Anyway, the dealer busts, half the table leaves, right? So half the table leave, and we're like, okay, whatever. Next hand, same thing happens. I double, or he's saying, and I'm like, so we win again, and we're like doubling up. Then the manager comes over to us, pit manager. He's like, yeah, you can't play anymore. We're like, why? We're just playing up. This is how we want to play. We're like, no, you can't play. So they kicked us off, and they weren't allowed to play any. Like, they're like, you can't play any table games today. You can play the slots. We're like, oh, okay. So whatever. So we just had a drink, and everyone else was gambling, and we left. The following week we went in, and as soon as we walked in, they went, well, to me anyway. They said, you're banned. I got banned from there.
Oh, Tim, yeah, we're gonna wrap up probably pretty soon.
Yeah.
Have a great night. Nice seeing you. when I'm back in Grand Prairie, Tim, I will I'll come say hi. I was only there for a couple days. It was a little tough. I did sneak into the casino to see what it looked like. Yeah, it looks the same, but cleaner. Have a great night, Tony. Tim, I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, John. So next week, next week, yeah, we can. I'll set up a segment so that we can kind of go through a bunch of things because we can talk about a lot of this. And yeah, Mike wanted to join because like he's got some pretty funny stories too. So, and he wanted to ask you some stuff.
On, right? So
yeah. Well, I asked Garden too. Like, what I wanted to do was like the three people that I just like interviewed to have them all in like one panel, right? So, but Arden was busy too. So,
can you have multiple people on this StreamYard thing?
yes, 6.
6? Oh, okay.
I think 6. Same with Ecamm. And I think Ecamm is just better because I can like show you a clip. I can show you like I want to show you the photos that you gave me because like we didn't really talk about those photos yet, right? So because you sent me some and it's just like, okay, there's your max headroom hair. Where was that from? You know, and so like that's kind of what I wanted to do with the segment. Even though this is a good test run, like some people jumped on, some people jumped off, so that was cool. But you know, at least like we can kind of set it for Wednesday now. And like you're set up, like if we're gonna use StreamYard, then we can use StreamYard. But I want to definitely get Ecamm just so we can kind of get everybody on board, and then we can schedule it for like Wednesday at 8 next week.
Sure. I mean, like I said, I'm using like an iPad. So if the iPad, if you can, you know, if it works on an iPad, I'm good to go.
Yeah. Well, you can Skype on that iPad though, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
did the last couple of times I was on. Actually, I was in my bonus room right now. I'm in my basement, right? Because my wife and kids are all playing games and doing whatever they are upstairs. I'm just a bad parent downstairs.
Well, that's okay. I just before you jumped on, I just sent my kid upstairs at like 8 o'clock. It's like not playing. I'm getting this set up. I'm all like sweating, and I'm like, oh, this isn't working. What's going on?
But no, but this is cool, right? Because you try new things. You're like, okay, you know, next time you know, all right, this works, and then you can do that and whatever. I'm sure nobody's watching right now, but whatever. I mean, it's
No,
like
it's just yes. There's I don't know who the there's 2, so I don't know who the 2 are.
You know, it's just like it's probably you and I.
No, I don't think. Or maybe it is. Who knows? No. Those are additional viewers. But yeah, so that the next week we'll set up a whole segment, and then we can kind of. It'll be nice to just go through some topics, and I really want to go through like the comments and stuff because like I don't know, it's good. We can talk. Oh, there's so much. Man, I can still talk about. I have ship stories too, just like everyone else. Mike's stories are probably better.
Of course they are. I'm old, so these are old stories.
I was on the Mercury. That was fun. I got my I got a tape and I got it converted into digital, so I can actually have like I have footage of like my time on the Mercury during our Christmas party. Hilarious.
Saying that, I've got I bought when Rhonda and I got married. We got married in Edmonton, and I bought house brick kind of like camcorder, and we videoed it. Somebody videoed it, and I'm like, yeah, let's just take it on the ships. So I think I've got some of those little cassettes. No idea what's on them. I remember seeing one, and it was like a drunken party somewhere. So I've no idea what's on it. I'm kind of scared to see what's on it. So maybe one day I'll kind of like, maybe I should convert these over and see what's on it. And I might regret it. I'll be like, oh dear God.
Yeah, I regretted some of it because I was taping and it was our Christmas party, so I was hammered. And I don't know if you worked with Nelson Hegedus?
No.
No, probably okay. Yeah, well, yeah, he was on the ships with me as well. He's from Edmonton, and then he worked in Vegas. But yeah, you could see his face. He's like, oh, "I'm so annoyed with you." He's like trying to like play a game. Like Nelson, how's it going?
Is he the one?
Yeah.
Is he the one you're gonna have next? You're gonna have somebody on Vegas or from Vegas?
No, I already interviewed her. It was Heather Ferris.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? She's up for like debate too. I could have invited her on and we could have debated whether you leave odds or you take odds. Which way is the best way of dealing? Because she does a lot of training as well. So it's Vegas faces. and we're supposed to do a collab. You should go on her channel.
I should go. Yeah, but the only thing is, like you go, like for myself, you'd be like, who's this guy? What does he know?
Oh no, there's I think that like I don't know. She worked 5 years, which is good, and she worked for a lot of different casinos. So, but I think for me, it's like I like interviewing everybody. It's just like I want to interview somebody from Australia. So if you know somebody ideal, it'd be nice because I want to see like what their game is, right? So like what's different with craps there than it is here, or not just craps, like the whole casino. So
Do you know, like, well, I know from Britain when I was there, nobody really deals combats. Nobody like combat is like a completely alien game. They sent a lot of it is like a heavy center action and place bets. Nobody really plays combats, and even fewer people play don't combats. And if they do play don't combats, they're kind of everyone's like, what the hell? What? Yeah. So yeah, it was. So when I first when you first move over or when you transition to that, it's a totally different type of game, and it's weird. Even different parts of Britain, it's always the same kind of game.
Yeah.
Where they don't play combats. It's always place bets and odds and and that kind of stuff, but they don't really play for that. Then anyway, it may have changed, but for the most part, they combat. Like I told you before, I dealt one time where a whole group of like Air Force pilots came, like Top Guns came in London, and because I dealt on ships and combats, I was like, man, this is easy. Everyone else was like, oh, what the heck is this? What do we do? What goes first? What goes next? And then there were people who'd also bet that don't come. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. This is okay. This is no big deal. Yeah, but it completely threw us off. Like most of the other dealers, it was crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's when someone comes in and right now, like nowadays, someone will come in and just bet quarters and be like parlay, and you're like, oh my god. It's like, when's that 7 coming? Because I don't know what the bet is on the 6. I don't know how to press it. And they give you like blacks too, and you're like, oh crap, green and blacks. How are we gonna do this?
Oh yeah.
So you're so out of practice. I mean, you have a game for so long where it's just like, oh, 2 units across, 1 unit inside. You don't deal with anything, and then the dude comes in and it's just like, yeah, give me I don't know, give me 7 units across, and then parlay. It's like, no, don't give me any change. Parlay. Like, it's like, oh my god, a true
But that's what I
parlay.
mean. Like you need to adapt to the players, right? So like you said, like right now the game has died, and you're like, okay, all these dealers now are dealing to it. They're only going to get as good as the game you have, right? And to get better, they need to find a better game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And maybe people don't want to travel. I was always like, man, see ya, I'm gone. I'll go and try something there. The only place I never went, and it was really because of personal reasons. A lot of British people I worked with way back in the day, back in the 80s, they went to Sun City and in South Africa. And they said it was like the action there and the quality of life there was just unbelievable. It was incredible. But I was like, man, I can't go there. The whole apartheid thing, I can't do that. I can't go there. Even though I got a ton of friends that I liked that went there and loved it, and I worked with tons of people afterwards who said, yeah, man, it was an amazing experience to work there. I never went there. And that was probably the only place America I never went because I couldn't go. But that was the only place that I could have gone to deal craps that I never, but that was kind of a personal choice.
Yeah. For me, I wanted to go to Florida because I heard they had like some really busy ships there, like those one day, where they go off and they come back.
Ships.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I worked at the ship. I did. Well, I did. Yeah, I did. The daily ship I did was out of San Diego. That's some fun stuff too. So I did like San Diego to Ensenada, which at the time Ensenada was Mexico's biggest tuna port. So it stunk a tuna. And one time we were there, and a Greenpeace ship came there, and because all these white guys came off and we're from the casino, we're like, okay, let's go hit the bars now. And all these local fishermen got so mad and were like, they were going to try and beat us up because they thought we were Greenpeace. We're like, no, man, we're on that ship, not that ship. Like, okay, nice. Yeah, so yeah, they wanted to beat up all the Greenpeace guys, but yeah.
That's funny. Was Ensenada was that one of the ports for the Panama Canal run? It wasn't, right? Because it was for us it was Acapulco and then Cabo, or the other way around. Acapulco, Cabo. Yeah.
We used to go. San Juan to Puerto Rico. Sorry, San Juan, Acapulco was one, and
Yeah.
San Juan was the other. So we used to go there. One time, I know where for one of the Hawaiian cruises, they kind of went from Hawaii, and I think they dropped the passengers off. There used to be that weird rule where they sort of like different ports where they picked up like passengers, whatever. But I remember they dropped them off at like 7 o'clock in the morning at Ensenada, and then they went up to San Diego and they picked up new people to then go through the Panama Canal. I think that was the only time that with Royal Caribbean ever that they went to Ensenada. I was like, I'm not getting up for that. I was like,
yeah. I think the only time I didn't even get off, but we went to Ensenada after 9/11. 9/11 happened, and we're coming from, I think it was from Hawaii to San Diego. So it was like 5 sea days we're in San Diego. And then 9/11 happened in the middle of that. They wouldn't let anybody off except Americans. So then we had to like spend another 2 days, and then we ended up in Ensenada. And I still don't think I got off. It was crazy. It was crazy to be on the ships when that happened.
oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
years ago. Because it's getting late now. Maybe we can talk about it another day. I was in LA on a ship for the Rodney King riots.
Oh, no way.
Like I was like literally I'll do quick.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
I was on this cruise ship, whatever, and I it's San Pedro in California, which is the port there for LA. And I left, went to Australia for the family trip, whatever. My family were there, and we went over there. And then it all blew up for the Rodney King riots. And then I flew back in when there was the riots and all the lockdown and all the crazy shit. I was like, my mum was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't go back, don't go back." Because obviously it's all over the news, the riots and everything. And I was like, "Oh, that's where I'm going."
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh.
Okay, Jay, it's almost 10, so I gotta go.
Yeah, well, I had to go like maybe half an hour ago too.
Yeah,
so.
me too. But, yeah, this is fun. I mean, if you want to do it again, let me know. We'll talk. Just ping me, and I'm sure we can sort something out. Now that we figured it out, or you figured it out, and I was just like, oh, I'll just push that button.
Yeah, well, for you it's easy. Yeah, but I want to do like the whole production. So yeah, next week let's do that, and then I'll see if we can get Mike. I'll just give Mike like an iPad or something, and then we'll get Mike and Arden on so that we can do at least like 4, and then we can kind of debate some stuff. But I want to get through like the whole, like I have a lot of content that I want to go through too, just so that, get some substance. But we're like an hour 45 minutes. That's crazy. So
yeah, I understand. Hey, see, who knew you could talk for an hour and 45 of complete nonsense, eh?
I don't know. I'm just gonna put it all. Well, I don't know if I can edit it. Like the first 10 minutes is like, oh my God, what the fuck's going on here? And I'm just talking with like Jade. So, okay.
Okay, well, take it easy, Jay. Talk to you later, man.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.